The Honda Jazz. This is the 4th generation. Yeah, we've seen a hybrid before, but this one's a bit different. It's an EX style. I'm Ben Quirk. Welcome to Planet Auto. The Jazz first appeared on the scene back in 2001. Now, it may be known as that here, but it's also known as the Fit. Now, it's an interesting model. For a start, it's a city car, but when it was released, it was actually seen as a smaller MPV, which it kind of is, especially when you take into account things like magic seats. It's economical, and now it's hybrid. Or should I say, once again, it's hybrid. And if you're wondering what the engine is, well, it's a 1.5 i-VTEC, and it's got 2 electric motors, one for propulsion and one for charging. There's literally one powertrain, this one. So there's no manuals. Instead, you get an e-CVT, which is far better than a CVT. There's 4 trims to choose from, but the style is the one that really steps it up. For example, you get the styling that you see on the cross start, and the fact that we've got the pearl and the black. I mean, my word. It's a rather impressive looking city car. When it comes to the prices, well, an SE you can get for just under 21,000. Ours is just under 27,000. But primarily you'll get LED lights, Honda sensing, and a couple of other things. But then, the higher you go, the more features you get. So with our EX style, we get things like a heated steering wheel, heated seats, adaptive cruise. But the good thing is, Honda sensing is throughout the whole range, so there's no compromising on safety. Check out Honda's website and you'll see exactly what there is on each trim. Now, there's a few things that I love about the Jazz. I think the first one has to be the fact that it still retains the shape pretty much from the first gen. Yeah, they've cutesified the front with a full new nose cone, but apart from that, I mean, at a glance you can tell it's a Jazz, and I think that's a good thing. And the other thing is, it's far quicker than you give it credit for. City cars, notably, aren't particularly quick, whereas this does say 0 to 60 in 9.5. Because it's all done by electric motors, getting to 30 is considerably quicker. The other thing you get with this system is 62 to the gallon. Now, people have been getting closer to 75. In a word, it's responsive, it's fun, it's economical, and it's nimble. This is a petrol car being an electric car. Yeah, just let that sink in for a moment. Now, there are a few changes since the previous gen. For example, the A-pillars are narrower, so you've got a better view at the windscreen. It's got lighter motors, it's got a smaller e-CVT, and it's far more spacious. Design language. Well, you can still clearly see it's a Jazz, which is a good thing. But now they've stepped it up a notch once again. You know B. Now, this is seeing the beauty in everyday things, but it's also far more practical, far more versatile, and far more spacious than the previous gen. Now, the general shape hasn't changed very much, but when you look at the new nose cone, well, I think it's far more minimalist. And I think the biggest change has to be the headlamps. LED automatic, high beam assist, the design and the shaping, it's almost like anime. It has like a cutesy front end, but when you colour code the edges, well, it gives it a far more aggressive look. The blue around here at the front and the rear depicts it's a hybrid vehicle. Chrome, a chunky bumper, and parking sensors, and that's the thing. The Jazz has everything you need to help you park and see on those dark nights. And the headlamps are very good. I also like the flow of the daytime running lights. Coming back to B, you can see that it is far more simplified, but it looks better for it. There's no cladding here. No side skirts, just mouldings, but they look far better in black. Black caps on the mirrors, black A-pillars, and a black roof. We've got 17-inch wheels, they're very sporty, and there's no plastic inserts. The other thing is, it's not the lowest vehicle in the world, so muddy campsites, things like that, absolutely no problem. We've got blind spot detection and power folding mirrors too. Let's take a look inside. Keyless entry, and the door opens nice and wide. Well, it's certainly changed since the previous gen, and to be honest, I think some of the materials are better. Climbing in, absolutely no problem. And more to the point, I've even got a grab handle. Considering it's, I suppose, a large city car, it's very roomy. Soft materials throughout, and you've got a long dashboard, which allows for a big windscreen, so you've got great visibility. Little power button here. Down here, I can disable my parking sensors and traction control. Also, I can adjust my headlamp height. Wonder if that means it'll tow. Ooh, decent build quality. So yes, it's full of hard plastics, but it's not surprising when this car starts at just under 21,000. But the plastics are a good quality. There's also a mix of materials, colours and trims, and lots of quirky storage solutions. Cup holder here, and I'm a great fan of this colour throughout the vehicle. It just lifts it. Cluster, nice and straightforward. Battery level on the left, and you've got your petrol gauge on the right. Because remember, this is a hybrid, but you don't have to plug it in. You've also got B mode on the box, and that's for going down, say, steep hills. Essentially means brake. Also, adaptive won't work when it's in that mode. Great driving position. The armrest really helps, and you've got a padded area here. The top of the doors are hard, but once again, decent material. Reach and rake in the steering wheel, and it's very roomy. At 6'3", I can sit in the front and the back. Now these seats are perfect for summer. They're not proper leather. Fabric centre and some decent bolsters. Well, it means you get a comfortable and supportive ride. Good quality. Also, as we have the EX, we get things like a heated steering wheel, heated seats. Good to see an infotainment screen with rotaries and proper buttons. Satellite navigation, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and a few apps, and also some of the car's settings. Nice and straightforward to use, responsive, your economy too. Climate control down here, 12-volt socket and USBs. We've got an electronic handbrake, brake hold and economy buttons. It does everything itself. 9 times out of 10, if you back off, this will go into electric mode, even at say 65 miles an hour. Let's take a look in the back. I nearly forgot. There's no electric seats on this model, but you do have a side airbag in here and height adjustment. Now, one of the things that really appealed to me when we tested this, say 2 years ago, was the fact there was far more space in the rear. Also magic seats. But the other thing is, the door opens nice and wide. Climbing in. Well, at 6'3", I need to dip my head ever so slightly. I can almost lean all the way back as well. Well, I can, but it's a couple of millimeters headroom. But it does stagger me. It's like a TARDIS. The other thing is, this seat's set for me at 6'3". Crazy. And I can get my feet under the seats. And I've got a massive room here anyway. So you don't expect soft touches up here, but it would have been nice to see that padded. Comfortable, supportive seats, and they match the front. Isofix points, and I can see that we've got curtain side airbags. One thing I have noticed is this is thicker, so it's more padded, so it makes it far more comfortable. You've got a map pocket as well, somewhere for your smartphone, and some charging points. When you're a passenger in the Jazz, it's got some really nice attributes. For example, quite tall windows. Also, the window line isn't too low, so even at 6'3", I can see through it. And even with privacy glass, it's still light and airy. Honda have never had a problem with intelligent design. They always include things like central or rear lights, seatbelt adjustment, and grab handles, even coat hooks. Now, for some reason on the live, I completely forgot how to use magic seats. Yeah, bit dim of me. Literally, you do this. It's that simple. They're not too heavy, and when you push these down, they lock in place. You'll get, say, a wheelchair, even a mountain bike with no wheels in here. It gives you a decent bit of space, and when it comes to changing these back to seats, literally pull this, and then just guide back down, and then drop from, say, here, and it'll lock, and then just make sure it's seated correctly. Once again, you can see Unobi at work. It's very simple, minimalist, uncluttered. I've always been a fan of the M3 look. The way these illuminate reminds me of old school neons. And also we've got the addition of LED, and they're on all trims. We've got parking sensors, a reversing camera, and a rather jazzy font. Sporty rear spoiler, and that matches the roof. Let's take a look in the boot. Now, interestingly, there's no release button on the key fob. You just have an old school button. Once open, well, it's not going to be the biggest boot because it's a Jazz, but it's not bad when it comes to, say, shopping and the odd suitcase. A little bit of a boot lip, but nothing to really write home about. Also, with this boot liner, you can put plants, wet dogs, large cats, Wellington bobbles, rear light, shopping bag hooks, and if we lift up this liner, you can see extra storage there. And as it's a Honda, so this is where you'll find your inflation kit. Parcel shelves, nice and easy to remove. You just unhook. Dropping the seats from the rear, very easy. Literally pull this and then push forward, and the seat will automatically move forward. And my word, I think that's a flat loading area. Bits of carpet here to cover the gap too. It's amazing how much space is unveiled when you drop those two seats. Easy to unlatch, and then once open, you can see it's nice and simple to see where you top up all the fluids. Good morning and welcome behind the wheel of the new Honda Jazz. Yeah, we drove this about 2 years ago, but this is in a new trim, the EX style. Apologies for the aircon, but arguably it's the hottest day of the year, so I'm going to need it on, otherwise we're going to expire. Under the bonnet we've got a 1.5 i-VTEC engine, 16 valve, and it's double overhead cab. It's also coupled to 2 electric motors. Now interestingly, the engine isn't actually coupled to the wheels. I know that's a bit head battering. Instead, what you've got is one electric motor that recharges and one electric motor that's for propulsion. No manual, but luckily there's no CVT. Instead now you get an eCVT. Yeah, it can make a bit of racket if you floor it. Seamless gear changes. It's also got 3 modes. So it's got hybrid, EV and the petrol engine. And interestingly, smooth out acceleration. A lot of it, in a word, is sorcery. To be quite frank, some of it goes over my head, to be honest. But what I do know is it's got great acceleration. Now, interestingly, it says 0 to 60 in around 9.5, but up to 30 it's considerably quicker. Because if you floor it from, say, the lights, for a start it's just using electric motors, so it just digs its heels in and it's gone. Comfort-wise, well, it's a Jazz. So it's not built to be the most rigid vehicle, which means it's comfortable for driver and passenger. So yes, you will get body roll, and there's pretty much nothing you can do about it. But the interesting thing is, it's not excessive. It just makes the vehicle, well, a far more comfier ride. The suspension feels nice and pliable. What it does feel is well planted. Yeah, it's not the most agile vehicle in the world, but you can still have some fun on a back road. Due to its weight, it does grip well. In a word, the Honda Jazz is easy. You can get in and drive it with no problems. You don't need to have driven electrics and hybrids. It's just so straightforward. For a start, you've got a B mode, and that's for braking. So what it does is enhance, so it regens. It's not one pedal driving, but it does scrub off some of your speed.
Clear on the left.
Let's do a launch out the junction. 30. 50. Now to me that feels far quicker than 9.5. Cluster's nice and straightforward. On the left hand side you can see your battery, and also if you start going through the cluster screens you can see exactly what your hybrid system's doing. So you can see when it's in EV mode, when it's putting power back into the battery to charge them, and when it's using the petrol engine, etc, etc. On the right hand side, petrol gauge, and the one thing you will notice about this vehicle is it doesn't seem to really use it. I've been getting around 62 to the gallon, but it can boast as much as 75, and people on eco runs are getting higher than that.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's surprising as well. Great visibility throughout, big windscreen, and Honda Sensing adaptive cruise. We've also got lane keep assist, lane departure warning, AEB, and collision detection. Decent brakes, discs all round, wind noise, none to speak of, road noise. And we're in EV mode, so yeah, pretty damn good. The other thing about the powertrain is it will try and run in electric as much as possible. What a serene experience. On A and B roads it just plods along happily. Joining a motorway, well, you've got enough power to join without any problem whatsoever, and even changing lanes at higher motorway speeds, still effortless. The steering isn't the heaviest in the world. It does weighten up a bit on a back road, but that makes it the ideal city car. So for manoeuvring around in towns and
Clean.
turning circles, not bad either. And directness wise, it's not bad. I mean, yes, it's not a Civic Type R. It's not trying to be. Instead, what it offers is a comfortable, practical, versatile vehicle that suits the small family. Decent prices and loads of tech. As I mentioned, Honda Sensing, a warranty of 3 years. There's some rather cool looks. Well, that's my thoughts.